The raid on Area 51 may have fizzled, but thanks to endless movies, television shows like The X-Files,
MOONWALK, Area 51.
video games, battle simulations, and memes.
Oh my gosh!
Lots of memes. Area 51's been living rent-free in our imagination for decades. So are them aliens really there? Who knows? But there are definitely some environmental disasters and secret tech we do know about. So let's untangle the truth from the legends. This is Area 51 Discomplicated. Discomplicated. Our first weird but true fact about America's Sarlacc pit of secrets is that there are UFOs at Area 51. Well, here's what I mean. In the mid-1950s, the CIA set up shop at Area 51 to test their experimental spy planes. Nearby Groom Lake is a dry lake bed. It's flat and hard like cement, a natural runway. It actually already had an airstrip there, presumably built by the military, and also a Del Taco. Just kidding. The place was perfect for Cold War secrecy. It's 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas, surrounded by mountains, and by an apocalyptic hellscape known as the Nevada Test Site, where the mad scientists at the Atomic Energy Commission detonated roughly 1,000 nuclear bombs from 1951 to 1992. Area 51 is just one of many numbered tracts across nearly 3 million acres of federal lands that combined almost equal the size of the state of Connecticut. Watertown, Dreamland, Paradise Ranch. The CIA's Groom Lake facility had many names, but only one mission we know about, testing what they hoped would become a real version of Wonder Woman's invisible jet to spy on the Russians. So it might not be a coincidence that around this time, Americans started spotting flying saucers in record numbers. Radical planes get tested, radical planes get spotted. Some UFO debunkers claim that the UFO reports received by the government line up pretty well with the now declassified flight schedules of the experimental planes being tested in southern Nevada. Even conventional military planes often reported weird aircrafts and reported them as UFOs, and this type of thing still happens today, like the recent videos taken by Navy pilots.
It's a UFO.
The pilot isn't wrong. They saw unidentified flying objects that they didn't recognize. But just because they had never seen a plane like that before doesn't mean it's from another planet. In 1955, the first super-secret U-2 plane took flight at Area 51. During testing, Groom Lake was the home of its elite pilots, including the guy who later got shot down over Soviet Russia in 1960, triggering an international show and exposing the weird-looking stealth plane to the world. That's kind of a pattern. The government develops a crazy aircraft, doesn't tell anyone about it, then it crashes or gets captured, and then they say, oh yeah, P.S., we made that years ago, whatever. The swingin' 60s at Area 51 were all about the A-12 Archangel and the SR-71 Blackbird, aka the Cobra Night Raven from G.I. Joe.
Cobra! Attack!
At one point, Lockheed Martin, who made the A-12, packed up a prototype from their development lab in Burbank, California, and transported it cross country to Area 51 for testing, raising tons of eyebrows along the road and fanning the conspiracy theories about UFOs at Groom Lake. But despite what it looked like, inside the box wasn't alien tech. It was a radical prototype, invisible to radar, flying 4 times the speed of sound, able to mask its heat signature, and covered in radar-scrambling titanium. Now that's some cutting-edge Stark Industries stuff right there. Next, let's talk about the Roswell aliens and Tom Cruise. We can't prove that either of them are at Area 51, but we know that Area 51 is the testing ground for America's stealth tech. Analyzing foreign tech is totally in their wheelhouse. In fact, we do know for sure that in the late 70s, captured Soviet MiG fighter jets were examined and tested at Paradise Ranch. These warplanes became part of the real Top Gun training program that inspired the Tom Cruise movie.
This is Maverick. Big 2 is headed home.
The next weird but true story is about Apollo 11 astronauts doing the Nevada Moonwalk. In the 1970s, several books and movies like James Bond Diamonds Are Forever and Capricorn 1 starring O.J. Simpson
These people are capable of it.
fed the idea that the moon landing was fake.
It's all a lie. A fantastic $30 billion hoax.
To this day, when people say the sets are still at Area 51, Buzz Aldrin gets pissed.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Here's what we know for sure. Apollo 11 astronauts trained for 3 days near Area 51 at the test site in Mercury, Nevada. Buzz and Neil skirted the top of one crater to get them ready for the geology they would encounter on the moon. Areas 10 and 20 are moonscapes because of all the heavy nuclear bombing that occurred there. Apollo astronauts from subsequent missions tore it up on lunar vehicles, and in 1972, during a live TV broadcast from the moon, one of the astronauts is heard comparing the craters on the moon to the Buckboard Mesa craters. From man-made craters to man-made tunnels, we move on to our next weird but true fact. There actually is some evidence to suggest that there are extensive underground tunnels around Area 51. In 1960, the Russians had eyes in the sky. Satellites were the shiny new spy tech. So how do you hide your toys? You go underground. A test site was definitely built into the side of various mesas, including Rainier, Pahut, and Yucca Flats. Some tunnels in the Rainier Mesa area stretch more than 1,000 feet, and some are reportedly 4,000 feet deep. According to Annie Jacobson's 2011 book, former employees she interviewed described train systems that transported heavy materials, zero rooms where they kept nukes, and some described brightly lit offices with electronics and desks in secret bunkers, Independence Day style.
My God. Why the hell wasn't I told about this place?
2 words, Mr. President. Plausible deniability.
We can't really corroborate all that, but from above, there aren't many cars, no paved streets, and no parking lots. Just buses transporting workers. So it does kind of feel like the type of place that has a lot going on underneath the surface. This much real or imagined underground infrastructure feeds crackpot internet theories that an international secret society is headquartered at Area 51 and is shaping world events Hydra style. Remember that creep Dr. Zola from Captain America the Winter Soldier? The one in the computer?
I was recruited. The new Hydra grew.
Well, there's a kernel of truth to that. Sorry, Cap, it's true. Nazis actually worked for America, and they were involved in some projects that were tested at Area 51.
The future will tell whether we'll manage to close that gap.
Meet Werner von Braun, the Nazi rocket scientist and member of the SS who used concentration camp slave labor to develop V-2 rockets for Germany, which were fired at England and Belgium, killing approximately 5,000 civilians during World War II. After the fall of Berlin, Russia and the United States scrambled to scoop up Germany's best engineers. The so-called Operation Paperclip sent von Braun and more than 100 Nazis to America, where they made rockets for the US Army and NASA. Eventually, von Braun's origin story got whitewashed, and he went on to advocate for putting a man on the moon and for a nuclear-powered spacecraft mission to Mars, which tested nuclear rockets for spaceflight in Area 51's backyard. In 1965, a nuclear rocket reactor was placed in a railroad car, like that scene from Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, and made to overheat to see what would happen if one went critical near a population center. And what would happen? This. And this.
The important thing is to keep the amount of radioactive contamination to as low a level as possible for human exposure.
Since we're on the topic of weird experiments at Area 51 and the adjacent Nevada test site, here's a few more that pop up. In 1957, the government wanted to see if soldiers would panic during a nuclear bombardment by placing men in trenches near a nuclear explosion in the Nevada test site.
Only 2,600 yards from the bomb, the closest ever in a test.
During another explosion closer to Ground Zero, 70 pigs were sedated, dressed in little pig-sized military uniforms, and placed in the blast zone of a nuke. Just one of many tests conducted by the Atomic Energy Commission to measure the effects of radiation on living things.
The Atomic Energy Commission doesn't take chances on safety.
Oh, cool, so we're good then, right? In the 1990s, several Area 51 workers with health issues sued the government, claiming that the secret base was an environmental disaster. Area 51 seems to have a policy of not allowing any waste to leave the base. So, all garbage and scraps of exotic materials from experimental aircraft are soaked in jet fuel and lit with flares where they burn and melt in open pits. The men just wanted to know what was making them sick. A federal court determined that the government had violated federal law in what they did, but the name of the place, Area 51, and the exact nature of what they had been burning remained classified. Is there a Bin Laden connection to Area 51? Over the last few decades, Groom Lake has been all about drone tech. Predator drones, Reaper drones, Lockheed Martin's RQ-170 Sentinels were all tested at Area 51. By 2001, drones had become weaponized, strapped with bombs in addition to cameras. The stealthy and weird-looking Black Hawk helicopters used by special forces in the raid that succeeded in killing Bin Laden were also tested at Groom Lake. There's even a whole scene in Zero Dark 30 that takes place in Area 51. Cool story, bro. The next weird but true fact is that there's a secret Vegas airport terminal. Today, it's widely believed that folks who work at Area 51 commute daily from a heavily guarded terminal at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas on 737 Janet jets, supposedly nicknamed after the wife of an ex-Area 51 commander. You can't miss the plane's red stripe on the tarmac. These would be employees, pilots, and contractors with the highest possible security clearances, unlike you and me. The closest we'll ever get to Area 51 is the gift shops at Armagosa Valley or Rachel, Nevada. So what's going on now? The construction in 2007 of a new hangar at Area 51 and another large hangar in 2014 means that there's still probably plenty of activity at the base. What weird projects are they cooking up out there? Well, if the past is any clue, it probably has something to do with radical aviation tech that the government wants to keep secret. And with all the real-life black ops, environmental disasters, and secret tech we do know about, the government won't just open up their gates anytime soon. So like a mirage on Nevada's Highway 375, Area 51 remains part of a fluid landscape where fantasies blend into facts and the bizarre becomes believable. We hope we discomplicated Area 51 a little bit for you. Make sure to subscribe for more Stranger Than Fiction Sci-Fi Wire videos.